Okay, if we want to add these 2 points together again, our key points are here, here, and here, or anywhere else where the graph happens to be 0. So if we consider the y values here, you can see the y value there is nearly 2. So if I add those 2 points together, I get nearly 2 plus nearly 2, which is nearly 4. So at that point there, I'm going to have a point up here. So let's think about the graph as we head along the axis this way. We're adding the blue line plus the red line. So the blue line stays the same, it's just a constant, it's increasing at a constant rate. So here the blue line is 3, here the blue line is 4, here the blue line is 5, etc. And what are we adding to it? Well, we're adding a little bit. Here it's 2 plus, what's that, a half? So it's 2.5, so maybe it's there. At this point here, it's 5 plus, well, barely a half, so it might have been 3 there, a half there, so it's a little bit. As we go along, we add a little bit less. So my graph, if you like, is going to look like our straight line, but it's going to get closer and closer because we're adding less and less and less. As opposed to what's happening in this section here. We're getting the red line plus the blue line. The red line is incredibly big. Here the red line is 4, here the red line is 6, there the red line is 8. And I'm adding a little bit more to it each time, but only a little bit more, which means my line is going to be the red line plus a little bit. So if you like, in terms of the shape of the graph, through here, it looks a lot like the straight line because the straight line gives me the biggest input, that's got the biggest values. And through here, it looks a lot like the hyperbola, or the truncus hyperbola, because it gives me the biggest value. All right, so let's clear out some of those little messes. What's happening on the other side? Well, the other side is very similar. I'm adding these two values together. So at that x point there, I've got, well, that's 1. So it's a bit over a half and a bit over a half. So maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's about there. Okay. So again, I've got this blue line subtracting a little bit more. Not very much though. And it subtracts less and less and less as we go on. So it heads down that way. What about in through here? Well, we've got these big negative numbers here. Big negative numbers subtracting a little bit more. So I've got this red value subtracting 0, so we know it goes through there. And then I've got these values, well, it gets to 1. So I've got, if you like, almost -2. Well, it's -2 plus a half, isn't it? So it goes up a little bit, and then we're going to come down. And we're going to be this side of the red line this time, because we've got this red negative value plus a little bit of positive. So it's just a fraction bigger. So it's going to go down a little bit like that. We're going to have our asymptotes still the same. And if we had a good ruler, we'd be able to just do our asymptotes through the middle there. So we've got our vertical asymptote because our function is not defined at x equal to 0. But the green line there will give us roughly what it looks like. If we have a look here, we can see it's pretty close to what we had sketched a little bit previously.